plus years of selling Johnson & Johnson. I started out as a baby-faced monster. No wonder it's diaper rash on my conscience. My teeth and ring was numb by that nonsense. Gym star, razor, and a dinner plate. Arm and hammer and a mason jar. That's my dinner date. Then crack the window in the kitchen.
What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Maximilian Must Know. Today we're taking a look at a house that really doesn't get a lot of discussion on YouTube. One of my buddies, Renee, did a great review on this scent, which really made me want to check it out. And when I picked up Udin from Lucky Scent, I was allowed to choose 5 samples based on the dollar amount that I spent. This was one that as soon as I got my nose on it, I said, yep, Renee was right. This one is a banger. And the fragrance is called Fusion Sacree Lui, or Sacred Fusion for him, from the niche house of Majda Bekkali, Collection Sculptures Olfactive. So this was a house I knew nothing about. I love doing reviews on fragrances from these houses because I get to learn a lot, and I did learn about the house, and let's briefly get into that. Majda Bekkali had spent 10 years collaborating with luxury perfume houses to help them produce scents. Finally, after a good amount of time, she decided she was ready to go out on her own and make a name for herself. She wanted to leave the business side where marketing determined everything and wanted to concentrate on making beautiful fragrances and art. And here is a quote from Majda, quote, "I wanted to explore other channels and work on precious essences and unique designs, allowing my creativity to take flight. Olfactory sculptures were the result. I wanted to inject an entirely new contemporary dynamism into the artistry of perfume production," end quote. So in 2009, she started her house with the goal of creating beautiful fragrances in luxurious handmade bottles. They currently have 6 scents in the collection. Most of them either come in 120 ml bottles or 50 ml bottles. I think the 120 ml is refillable, and the prices are about $125 for the 50 ml to $230 for the 100 ml. I do think they have collector's edition with beautiful hand sculpted bottles. I think those are a lot more expensive though. As far as getting your hands on these fragrances, it's not too easy to do in the United States. You could either go to Lucky Scent online or Mint New York in New York. And as soon as I smelled this, I said, yeah, I'm going to Mint and I'm getting myself a 50 ml of this. It just shot way up on my list and actually was the first niche scent that I purchased after getting Udin. The Perfume here is a favorite of mine, Bertrand du Chauffour. This is the 6th du Chauffour fragrance that I own. I have Chypre Palatin, Vanille Absolument, Traversée de Bois 4, Sartorial, and Jubilation 25. And looking on Fragranticare, there are another 15 that I want that du Chauffour did. Most of them are by L'Artisan Parfumé, but I really love and respect his work. Now, as far as presentation on this, guys, the box is very simple. It just says Fusion Sacree Lui, Majda Bekkali, Collection Sculptures Olfactive, 1.7 fluid ounce. You have your lot code in your barcode on the back, more information like ingredients. The bottle is very tiny. I thought it might be bigger, but it is very tiny. It says Fusion Sacree Lui, Majda Bekkali. Again, you have the lot stamp there. I don't think this is real wood. I could be wrong. It might be real wood. And then as far as your atomizer goes, it's a pretty decent atomizer. It's not the best one I've ever used, not the worst one. It certainly does the job though. So a very basic presentation. Just so you guys know, the 120 ml bottle is very nice. It really is beautiful. I sort of regret not getting it, but for the amount of juice that I really need, I think I made the wise fiscal decision. Now, notes on this fragrance are rum, citron, celery, sweet orange, neroli, cardamom, lavender, divana, bergamot, white coffee, tuberose absolute, cloves, geranium, sweet William pear, licorice, benzoin, opoponix, ambergris, cedar, sandalwood, caramel, and musk. So a lot going on here. And this is a really sweet fragrance. If you're not a fan of sweet fragrances, this isn't going to fly for you at all. This is like cavity sweet. But what I really like about this is that the sweetness has depth to it. It's not like Blue Sugar by Aquilina, which to me smells really sweet with not a ton of real substance under that sweetness. There are a ton of notes in here, and it feels like it's layered really well, and it builds up to something very nuanced and well balanced. So what are you going to pick up? What's really out there and obvious? Well, I pick up rum, caramel, coffee, orange, and celery. Now, if that sounds strange to you, that means you're smart, because it is strange. But it's strange in a beautiful way. this is, to me, a gourmand lover's dream. If gourmand fragrances are your thing, you simply have to get your nose on this because it's very different than other gourmand fragrances out there. You see, there are other fragrances with caramel and coffee and rum and orange, but the celery in here is what flips this fragrance around. And I think without the celery, this fragrance would probably be too much. It would be too sweet and too cloying and too sugary, just a mess. But the celery saves the day because what it does, it throws a pinch of savory into the composition that almost stands straight up and makes it very palpable. People love salted caramel or just a combination of sweet and salty, right? Chocolate covered pretzels or chocolate and sea salt. That's because very often that the salt cuts through the sweetness and balances everything out. And that's what we have here, a beautiful gourmand fragrance on the cusp of being too sweet to be taken seriously, not only saved but elevated to off-the-chart heights with a pinch of celery thrown in. I just think that this is one of the most brilliant fragrances ever composed, and only a master like Duchefort would have the balls to release something so brilliant that's so close of going over the edge of indulgence. Now, there are some negatives to this scent. The first and most obvious being that once the temperature starts to warm up, this has got to go back on the shelf, at least until fall. This is not a warm weather fragrance at all. So you're only going to be able to wear a fragrance like this for half of the year. Secondly, the fragrance's best phase doesn't last forever. It's an hour, maybe two at the most. Then you get a very different middle, sort of syrupy, sweet, plastic middle for an hour or so. And then the duration of the scent is when the resins sort of come out to play. You can get the apopanax and ambergris, and it turns into a very sweet smoked dessert caramel kind of thing. So that the top is so beautiful, it doesn't stick around forever. And while I'm not a fan of the middle phase of the fragrance, I do enjoy the base in a very pronounced way. I think the smoky, sweet thing is great and very different, just like the top is. So top note's great, base note's good, middle note's just average at best, and a little too bizarre in my opinion. I think the good far outweighs the bad, though. This is a unisex fragrance, gentlemen. I think if you own a bottle of this, it's likely that your missus will be stealing it. It's also a great price for a Duchefort fragrance. You're getting in on a really high-end chic unique fragrance for a very fair price. It's also going to give you damn near beastly performance, both in terms of projection and longevity. This sucker sticks around and leaps off my skin. I think you have to be careful of where you wear this fragrance. I would not wear this to work or an important meeting. I think the best place is to wear this out at night. I actually had a meeting this week and I did wear it the day after I got it, and I did think 3 sprays or something like that, and I was a problem. I went into a meeting in an office, and the office, it was a woman's office who has allergies to scent, actually. And, you know, she was coughing up a storm, and, you know, my boss was like, who's burning Nag Champa incense? And I was like, it's my cologne, I think. And so that's never happened to me before, where people were sort of like, affected by my fragrance, and it's my fault because I used far too much. 1 spray of this is definitely enough. But this is a fragrance that, because of this sort of projection and strength, you want to wear out at night. It's sort of like a 1 million for a hipper person. If you sort of kind of like that sweet clubbing fragrance but want to stand out from the crowd, you could throw this on and be almost guaranteed no one else out there is going to smell like you. I think this also makes a great date or romantic fragrance. Every woman that I know, except for the one who was dying coughing, seems to really like this one, and I'm happy to have it. This is a really easy to rate fragrance for me. I think it's a clear 8 out of 10. It loses 2 points for me. One, because it's just very difficult to get your hands on to sample and decide if it's going to work for you. And 2, because it's a bit of a polarizing fragrance. Not everyone in your life is going to love this fragrance. I have met lots of people that really dislike it. I got into a little bit of a tussle with Dave of the Fragrance Brothers online because of this fragrance, but it's patched up now. We're all good. But this is polarizing, guys. It really is. And I think if you like it, you're really going to like it. In the same vein, if there are people out there who don't like this one, they're really not going to like it. And it's easy to turn people off with this one because it's very different and it's very sweet. But this has made me respect the house immensely. I want to check out more from Majda Bekkali. I've always thought very highly of Bertrand Duchefort, so this elevates him even further in my mind, if that's possible. And expect to possibly see this one in my spring starting lineup, as I really enjoy this fragrance. So anyway, guys, that is this week's review. I hope you have enjoyed it. I will see you again next week for 2 episodes. We will have a sample shopping episode, and then we are going to review a discontinued designer fragrance that last time I checked was going for $450 on eBay in an auction. 1 bottle. I got mine for $60. I'm going to talk about it. $60. I'm going to talk about it next week and let you know why I think it's at that price.
Cause I let it sizzle on the stove like a minute steak. Nigga, I was cracking the school zone. 2 beepers on me, started jacket that was 2-tone. 4 lockers, 4 different bitches got they mule on. Black Ferris Bueller cutting school with his jewels on. Couldn't do wrong with a chest full of chains and an arm full of watches.